In a faraway land, nestled among shimmering peaks and emerald forests, lay a hidden valley called Dragon's Hollow. This was a home for dragons of all shapes and sizes, where the air hummed with the crackle of fire and the sky was often painted with puffs of colorful smoke. It was here that a little dragon named Ember was born. Ember was a beautiful dragon, with scales the color of a sunset, vibrant oranges, deep purples, and streaks of gold. He had sparkling amethyst eyes and a heart full of kindness. But Ember had a secret that made him feel small and different from all the other dragons in the hollow. He couldn't breathe fire. While other young dragons his age were happily practicing their first fiery puffs, creating little smoke rings and toasting marshmallows with a single breath, Ember could only manage a tiny, sad wisp of gray smoke. The elder dragons would watch him with concern. "Don't worry, little one," said Ignis, the oldest and wisest dragon, his voice a low rumble. "Your fire will come. It just needs a little more time to awaken." But time passed, and Ember's fire remained dormant. The other dragonlings, though not mean-spirited, would sometimes forget and leave him out of their games. Games like Catch the Fireball or Volcano Tag were impossible for him. He would sit by the crystal river, watching his reflection, a single tear sometimes sizzling on his warm snout, wishing he could be just like everyone else. He tried everything. He ate the spiciest fire peppers until his tongue tingled. He sunbathed on the hottest rocks until his scales shimmered with heat. He even tried roaring as loud as he could, hoping to startle the fire out. But nothing worked. Only a pitiful puff of smoke would escape his lips. Despite his disappointment, Ember found joy in other things. He had a special connection to the valley itself. He loved the flowers that grew on the hillsides, the way the wind whispered through the pines, and the gentle glow of the moonstone caves. He learned the language of the river and the songs of the birds. He spent hours talking to the ancient trees, who shared their wisdom with him. He noticed things other dragons, busy with their fiery pursuits, often overlooked. He could tell by the scent of the soil when rain was coming, and he knew which berries were the sweetest just by their color. His senses were sharper, his heart more attuned to the quiet magic of the world around him. He became a friend to all the small creatures of the valley, the squirrels, the rabbits, and even the grumpy badgers. They weren't afraid of him because he didn't have a fiery breath to startle them. One day, a strange chill swept through Dragon's Hollow. The vibrant greens of the forest began to fade, replaced by a pale, icy blue. The crystal river, once flowing freely, started to thicken and slow. A delicate, beautiful, but cold frost began to creep over everything, covering the flowers in a layer of ice and making the trees brittle. The dragons, for all their fire, felt the cold seeping into their bones. Soon, they discovered the source of the unnatural winter. A frost witch, with a heart as cold as the ice she commanded, had made her home on the highest peak overlooking the valley. She was jealous of the warmth and life in Dragon's Hollow and sought to turn it into her own frozen kingdom. The elder dragons gathered. "We must drive her away," roared a large, crimson dragon named Cinder. "Our combined fire will melt her ice and send her fleeing." The dragons agreed. Led by Ignis, they flew towards the peak, a great, fiery squadron against the icy sky. They unleashed torrents of fire at the witch's ice castle, but it was no use. The magical frost was too powerful. It absorbed their flames, hissing and steaming, but remained solid. The witch laughed, a sound like cracking ice, and with a wave of her staff, she sent a blizzard towards them. The dragons were forced to retreat, their flames weakened and their spirits low. The valley grew colder. Food became scarce as the plants withered under the frost. The dragons huddled together in their caves, trying to keep warm. But the witch's magic was relentless. Despair began to settle over Dragon's Hollow. Ember watched as his friends and family grew weaker. His heart ached for his home. He knew he couldn't fight the witch with fire, but he felt a desperate urge to do something, anything. Remembering his unique connection to the valley, he decided to seek help from the ancient trees he had befriended. He scurried to the heart of the forest, to the oldest and wisest tree of all, a giant sequoia whose branches seemed to touch the sky. "Great elder tree," Ember chirped, his voice trembling with cold and worry. "The frost witch is freezing our home. The dragon's fire is not enough. What can we do?" The ancient tree stirred, its leaves rustling with a sound like 1,000 whispers. It spoke to Ember not in words, but in feelings and images that bloomed directly in his mind. The tree showed him a vision. It wasn't fire that could defeat the witch, but life. The pure, vibrant, warm life of the valley itself. The tree told Ember that he held a different kind of magic, a magic born not of fire, but of his love and connection to the living world. The tree explained that Ember's breath, though it couldn't produce flames, carried the essence of life. He had spent so much time nurturing the plants and befriending the creatures that his very being was intertwined with the valley spirit. His gentle puffs of smoke weren't a sign of weakness. They were seeds of warmth and growth. The elder tree instructed him to gather the last remnants of life from the valley, a single resilient sun-petal flower that had survived the frost, a drop of water from the deepest unfrozen spring, and a seed from the elder tree itself. Filled with a new sense of purpose, Ember set off on his quest. It was a perilous journey. The ground was slippery with ice, and the wind howled, trying to push him back. But his small size, once a source of shame, now became his advantage. He could navigate the treacherous, frozen paths where larger dragons could not. He first found the sun-petal, glowing with a faint, golden light under a sheet of ice. He gently breathed on it. His smoky puff, warm with the magic of life, didn't melt the ice like fire would have. Instead, it coaxed the ice to recede, leaving the flower unharmed. He carefully plucked it and placed it in a small pouch. Next, he journeyed to the Moonstone Caves, where he knew the deepest spring still held liquid water. He collected a single, pure drop. Finally, he returned to the elder tree, who offered him a small brown seed, humming with dormant energy. With the 3 ingredients, Ember felt a strange power coursing through him. He knew what he had to do. He had to face the Frost Witch. He began the long, arduous climb up the frozen peak to her castle. As he got closer, the cold became almost unbearable. He could see the witch on her throne of ice, watching his approach with cruel amusement. "What is this? A little smoke puff dares to challenge me?" she cackled. "You can't even light a candle, little dragon. Go back to your cold cave before you freeze." Ember didn't answer. He stood before her, small but resolute. He took a deep breath, not of air, but of all the love he felt for his home. He pictured the green forests, the flowing river, the warm sun. He placed the sun-petal, the water drop, and the seed on his tongue. As he exhaled, it wasn't a wisp of smoke that emerged. It was a swirling, shimmering cloud of golden-green light. It smelled of spring rain, fresh soil, and blooming flowers. It was a breath of life itself. The magical cloud drifted towards the witch. She laughed and raised her staff, expecting to freeze it solid. But her ice magic had no effect on it. The cloud of life enveloped her. It didn't burn her or fight her. It simply showed her everything she had tried to destroy. She felt the warmth of the sun on her skin, heard the joyful song of a bird, and saw the beauty of 1,000 blooming flowers. The icy shell around her heart, built from years of loneliness and jealousy, began to crack. A single tear, the first she had shed in centuries, rolled down her cheek. And where the tear fell, the ice melted, and a tiny green sprout pushed its way through the snow. The witch's power, fueled by her cold heart, vanished. The ice castle began to melt, not into a flood, but into a gentle stream of life-giving water that flowed down the mountain. As the warmth returned to Dragon's Hollow, the dragons emerged from their caves, blinking in the sudden brightness. They watched in awe as the frost receded, the trees regained their color, and the river began to flow freely once more. They saw little Ember, standing on the peak, glowing with a soft, warm light. Ember returned not to cheers of a hero who had won a great battle, but to the loving embraces of his family and friends. They finally understood. His magic wasn't the loud, fiery magic of a warrior. It was the quiet, powerful magic of a nurturer. He hadn't destroyed the cold. He had healed the heart that caused it. From that day on, Ember was celebrated for his unique gift. The other dragons learned from him that strength comes in many forms, and that a gentle heart can be more powerful than the fiercest fire. Ember, the little dragon who couldn't breathe fire, had saved them all by breathing life. And Dragon's Hollow was more beautiful and vibrant than ever before, a testament to the fact that everyone has their own special magic, just waiting to be discovered. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe for more wonderful stories.